Hello and welcome to People Not Politics. My name is Rusty Pierce and I'm here today with Gina Montoya Ortega, candidate for Las Cruces mayor. How are you today, Gina?
Good, Rusty. Thanks. How are you?
Good. So I just want to say recently that Elijah Cummings was lied in state at the Capitol, and we just want to say rest in peace to him and his family, and that we are praying for them. Elijah Cummings came from a family of sharecroppers, which is certainly not of the privilege. So I also want to bring into Las Cruces, a recent report showed that we are the second poorest metropolitan area in the nation with a poverty rate of 25.9%. Tell me a little bit about why you think we have that poverty rate so high here in Las Cruces and in our area, and what we could probably do to improve that.
Okay, so like you said, my name is Gina Montoya Ortega, and I'm the co-owner of La Fiesta Bakery, born and raised here in Las Cruces. Mi nombre es Eugenia Gina Montoya Ortega. Soy dueña de la panadería La Fiesta. And so that's really, so basically, I mean, how he was raised by sharecroppers. That's basically what most of the people in Las Cruces. I mean, we could be the equivalent. The poverty level at 25%, 25.9% in Las Cruces. So we too, the people of Las Cruces, are pretty much in the same state that he was when he grew up. I would say at this point in their lives, the majority of Las Cruces.
And tell me a little bit about your background. Where did you come from? I
was born and raised here in Las Cruces. My mother was married to her first husband, had my 4 older brothers and sisters, and divorced him, and then married, didn't remarry, had 2 more children from 2 other separate men. And so I was raised by my mom, who raised 6 children pretty much on her own. I was actually the fortunate one that did have my dad somewhat in my life, especially as I got older, I got to know him a lot better. So I was born and raised in Las Cruces. I went to Washington Elementary School. From Washington Elementary School, I went to Alameda Junior High. It wasn't middle school as it is now. It's Alameda Junior High School. Went to Mayfield High School, attended Vista College and NMSU.
And did you have your families have lots of money? What did you do to survive that poverty?
No, came from poverty. My mom being a single mom trying to raise 6 children. We were recipients of food stamps. And I would see sometimes growing up, going to the store with my mom and her not having enough money, being short even 10 cents. At the checkouts, and nobody offered, hey, here's 10 cents. So she had to make the decision, do I put the bread back, or do I put the bologna back, or what do I put back, because she was short 10 cents. So I grew up in poverty.
And where are you now?
Well, by the grace of God, I have actually made a turnaround in my life. I'm pretty much a successful person. We had our bakery. Unfortunately, because of the road destruction that happened on Valley Drive, we had to shut that down. However, we left everything there in hopes that when I become the next mayor of Las Cruces, we are going to open that bakery back up. We were supported by our wonderful community here. We could not have survived the 13 years that we were there if it wasn't for the wonderful people of Las Cruces. Not the city government, the wonderful people of Las Cruces.
So it sounds like you had a plan to get out of poverty through education, working your jobs. Now you're a small business owner. I've heard it mentioned that you probably didn't plan very well for the destruction of that road and ultimately your bakery closing down. What do you have to say to those people who say you should have planned better, that you should have planned more, that you should have done this, that you should have done that, and that your bakery could have stayed open?
Yeah, so like you said, I mean, I did grow up in poverty, and I knew that when I grew up, I could continue to be poor. I had 3 choices. I could continue to be poor, I could work more than one job, or I could get an education. I had my son when I was 14. I turned 15 8 days later. I actually got married at the age of 17 to not his biological father, but to a man that accepted him just as his own and eventually was able to adopt him. So like you said, how can we plan? I mean, we don't plan. We can make all the plans and that we want, but I am a woman of faith, and I totally believe that if you want to make God laugh, you tell him your plans. Our plans are just, we can plan and hope. So yeah, there has been comment that was made at one of the events that we had, and it was by another candidate that said, this person is supposedly for a small business, but yet at this event, they said that it's the business owner's fault, that when a business closed, basically the businesses on Valley Drive that closed, it was our fault because we didn't plan. You can't plan for stupidity. That wasn't our fault. I went to every meeting that was available. We had a once-a-month meeting that continues to happen, and it was a city, it was a state, and it was a contractor and the public. And so I attended all those meetings. I begged, I pleaded. We had the city councilman at that time who would go represent the city along with several city workers. And
well, let's
yes.
talk about the plan for a second. So
Sure.
They talked about you not having a plan. Did they give you a plan saying that it was going to take X amount of months, it was going to take 3 phases, that it was going to be phase 1 completed before phase 2 started? Did they roll them all together? I mean, did the plan that they gave you, did they follow it?
No. So originally when they were going to do the Valley Drive project, they actually said, we had meetings and they told us how it was going to happen. It was going to be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, got public input. So this is what we thought was going to happen. All of a sudden, once the construction started, things started going, they started touching phase 1, which was basically between Picacho and Amador. Phase 2 was going to be Avenida de Mesilla, and phase 3 was Amador to Avenida de Mesilla.
And did they tell you that phase 1 would have to be completed before phase 2 started?
That was the understanding that all the businesses and pretty much all the people that attended the meeting, that's the way that they understood it was going to happen. Phase 1 was going to happen, then they were going to move to phase 2, and then phase 3. Well, it didn't happen. They, like I said, they started phase 1, and then before you knew it, they had their hands in phase 2, and they were even touching phase 3. So it didn't work out the way that they had told us it was going to happen. Also, we were told phase 1, which was going to be Amador to Picacho, right in front of where our bakery is that was going to take 6 months, both sides to complete.
And so did you plan for that 6 months?
For the most part that we could, because we understood that we were always going to have an entryway. So we planned the best way we could. Well, even once that started, everything started changing. Like if you came to my bakery in the morning, you were able to access my bakery directly in front of the bakery. There's an entry. So you were pretty much able to access our bakery at that point. Well, if you happen to come back that next afternoon or possibly the next morning, that entryway was shut off. And so then you knew that you should have used Hadley. Well, that just constantly changed. And it wasn't just for us. It was all the businesses. One day you were able to get into the business this way, but then all of a sudden the next day or the next afternoon, you had to use a different access point.
Okay. So they didn't follow their plan, but then people complain that you as a business didn't plan. So as mayor, when you're elected, you're obviously going to have to plan the city funds. What will you do if something doesn't go according to your plan? How will you adjust for that? The same way that you adjust for your business. You're successful, the business is still there. So how would you support that?
Well, so we need to interact and listen to what people are saying, because we were the ones who were boots on the ground. Excuse me. We were boots on the ground. We were there dealing with it every day. So you need to listen to the people, and we would go to these meetings and, say, this is what's happening. Because they didn't even know. Probably 2 months, maybe actually 3 months into it, 4 months into the project, the state supervisor actually showed up at the meeting. And he made a comment that he tried to get from point A to point B there on Valley Drive, and it took him almost 25 minutes to get from Picacho to Avenida de Mesilla. So he didn't even know what was happening. These are people that are making decisions and have no clue, because they're not living it. They're not experiencing it like we would as an employer or an employee. So we need to listen to what people have to say, because you know what? They're there. It's affecting their lives every day. So as mayor, we're going to listen to what people have to say. These meetings should have been, I'm here begging, I'm here pleading, adjust the lights, give us more money, work 24/7, and it went on deaf ears.
So we've got lights, or it's one of the things that you mentioned. Had the lights been able to sense that there's a car there, you could have gotten into your bakery potentially a little bit quicker by going down Hadley or by one of the alternate routes. So those lights, and those are quite expensive. We've talked before in some of our previous episodes about wasteful spending. So, for example, Las Cruces taxpayers spent $7.9 million essentially to change Water and Church Street into a two-way road around downtown. It was a one-way road before. It took you maybe a couple minutes tops to get around the entire thing. Now we spent $7.9 million to change that. Is that wasteful spending, and is that money that you would consider spending on perhaps lights for businesses to make this a more business-friendly, more people-friendly city? Definitely.
That $7.9 million, that is a lot of money. And it's amazing that we hear our current city government say it's only $7.9 million. Well, you know what? When it's only $7.9 million of their dollars, they can use the word only. It is not only their dollars. It is all the people of Las Cruces, all of us taxpayers, that's our money. What could we have done with $7.9 million? How many more events could we have had for the public? You know, people are asking, they would love to see the whole enchilada back as a free event. You know, that was the biggest event. When the whole enchilada started, I was in junior high at Alameda Junior High. And that was an event that even people that moved away, they always came back to celebrate that event, because that was the free event that people just loved to participate, especially the Hispanic culture. You know, I mean, every Hispanic that I know, we're out ready for a good party, a good pachanga, you know. And so they would come back. They would come back for that. You know, so why wouldn't we have these events? $7.9 million could have helped supported that. Supposedly the reason we got rid of the whole enchilada is because the city lost money. Well, you know what? It's not losing money. These are our taxpayer dollars that we need to invest in our people. What makes our people happy? We had Mr. Stan Blitz here a couple of weeks ago, and he spoke about that, yes, he's a senior, and he loves to dance. And he would love to have places that he could go dance at that didn't require going and having alcohol. He doesn't drink, or chooses not to drink, I guess, in public, whatever his thing was. But he wanted to go. He said, so him as a senior, what does he go home and do? He sits at home watching a baseball game by himself, where he can actually be interacting with people, which is healthy. We had Mike Clark, boxer and co-owner and owner of Crosstown Boxing. You know, and he came and said, you know, that his kids, with the things that they have to do to fundraise, you know, go cut people's grass, to pay these entry fees. So what could we have done with $7.9 million? We could have helped our community a lot more. We could have given them things to do. You know, keep our youth that are interested in playing sports, keep our older youth dancing, things that make them happy.
We talked about that last time, about the city not having helmets for the kids looking to play football these days, or any other sport for that matter that requires helmets and certain sort of pads or whatever for their safety. So $7.9 million, I can only imagine how many helmets that would have, you know, purchased. So, and now we could have had kids, instead of sitting at home and they couldn't pay the $300 fee to enter into football, plus the helmet, pads, and everything else. I know for the volleyball team that I helped coach, it was $75 to enter, and then another roughly $30 for the jersey. It's another $100 just to play volleyball for a 7th grade team. That's quite expensive. We also give, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, up to $25,000 or maybe it's $50,000 to some of the businesses downtown, and we'll match them and let them do some work on their buildings and on their facilities to improve their business.
Yes.
$7.9 million is a lot of $25,000 loans. You know, I mean, it's not a million of them, but it's quite a few. So where would you have used that $7.9 million? Are you going to focus on downtown, or is the entire city important to you?
Well, I mean, we have spent a lot of money in downtown. Even, for example, the plaza, $6 million to two out-of-state companies for consultation on what kind of plaza we needed. What could we have done with $6 million? What could we have done with $7.9 million? We could have brought the whole enchilada back as an event that all the city could participate in. We could actually utilize having those senior facilities open later for our seniors. You know, they close, I guess, like at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, what is that telling these senior citizens? It's time for you to go home and go to bed. Well, I met a lot of senior citizens that I see the energy that they have. I wish I had their energy, because these are still people that have a lot of energy and a lot of information that they could share. I was very blessed to have gotten to know my great aunts and uncles, and to hear that story. You know, to hear from people that, you know what, didn't have running water, that didn't have a car, that didn't have a microwave, that didn't have a cell phone, they didn't even have a regular phone, you know, and to hear those stories, I think that would be great for the youth to interact with the seniors and share the difference. I just had the conversation with my granddaughter the other day. We were talking about the cell phone. And I said, we didn't even used to have a cell phone. I said, we used to have the phone on the wall that you had, if you were lucky, you had that long cord that you could take to the other room and be in private, you know, to have the conversation that you probably shouldn't be having, you know. So she's like, no phone? And then I said, no. And then I said, even the phone that we had, you had the dial. And I had seen a little video or something that they actually gave these kids this rotary dial phone and said, that's the phone. And they looked at it and they're like, how does this work? They didn't even know how to make this phone work. I told my granddaughter, I said, we didn't even have a microwave. And she's like, why not? And I said, because they weren't invented yet. You know, so the things that we could do to help the seniors, to help the youth, there's a lot that we could have done. And it wouldn't have even taken the $7.9 million. The people of Las Cruces are very simple. We ask for the simple things. We're excited when they actually fix our roads, you know, that are in desperate need of fixing.
Well, $7.9 million is quite a bit of wasteful spending in our opinion. So if you just stay tuned, we'll talk about more things that we could do with that money when we return.
Hi, I'm Gina Montoya Ortega, candidate for Las Cruces Mayor. Las Cruces, the time for change has passed. I'm tired of hearing of all the talking. Let's start doing something. Our youth and our seniors and all of the citizens of Las Cruces are depending on us. Don't forget to vote. November the 5th, Las Cruces needs a change. Las Cruces needs a mayor that's willing to listen to you. Your voice does matter. Your vote does count. And don't forget to watch me on the Candidates Forum live on the Las Cruces Facebook channel, Monday nights at 8:30. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
Hello and welcome back to People Not Politics. Again, my name is Rusty Pierce, host, and today we have Gina Montoya Ortega, candidate for Las Cruces Mayor with us. We've been talking about wasteful spending and the $7.9 million spent on changing Water and Church Street into a two-way road. We're talking about some of the things that you could do with that money, and so bringing us to the police department being short on funding and on police officers. It was mentioned at a recent debate that we don't know where we're getting that statistic from, so I'd like to give you the opportunity to answer that question that was offered by another candidate. How do you know that the Las Cruces Police Department is short on officers?
So the way that we found out that our police department was short-staffed was we went to a city council meeting, and I believe it was a February meeting, so people actually wanted to go back to the city council meetings and review that. That's where we heard Chief Gallagher talk about that we were 17 officers short. So this is where I get my information. See, I depend on City Hall to share this information, but yet we come to an event and then we have somebody that's currently sitting on the city council say, I don't know where they're getting this information. Well, this is the information that you as our city government is giving us. So are you giving us wrong information? I mean, I'm trusting you as my city government, and obviously you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing if you're misinforming me.
And so my understanding is that they also lack the necessary funds. So I'm going to take just a second to talk about Stone Garden, for example. That's one of the funding sources that they chose not to take advantage of when the county did for the sheriff's department. I oftentimes hear that we don't want to stop and profile somebody based on race, and I totally agree with that. We do not want to do that. I don't want our police to do that, any law enforcement branch to do that. When you get pulled over and if you think somebody is arresting you or is looking at your ID simply because of your race, as the person in the car or wherever you are, how do you know what funds that officer is currently being paid with? You know, if they're being paid with Stone Garden or if they're being paid through, regular funds. You don't know that. So it's illegal either way to pull people over based on their race, based on the color of their skin. And you don't know where they're getting funded from. So why do you think the city council turned down Stone Garden funds when it's illegal to pull somebody over based on their race or based on the color of their skin, no matter what money they're using?
Yes.
So why would they prevent that?
Yeah, and that's an interesting question. So when I had first heard about Stone Garden, it was last year, and I actually went to the city council meeting and I went to the county commission meeting, and I opposed them. Because I was, like everybody else, under the understanding that this is money that was being used to racially profile people. Well, as a woman of color, a Hispanic woman, I would not want somebody looking at me because of the color of my skin. I used to live in Lubbock, Texas, and I had people that actually did racially profile me. I had people that wouldn't come through my checkout because they're like, I'm not going through that Mexican girl's line. What little that they did know, I was the most efficient, most accurate cashier that we had at that store. So that was their loss. But because they chose to judge me on the color of my skin. Well, this is illegal. A police officer cannot pull a person over because of the color of their skin. So upon getting educated a little bit more, Stone Garden money is not used for that. We have learned that the Sheriff's Department did get it this round, and they have been able to utilize a piece of equipment that has made the deputies' jobs a lot easier, a lot safer. So why as a city would we deny that money? I didn't go to the city council meeting this time that they voted on it, because had I been more educated on it, I'd have been like, that's not what they're using it for. This is something that can help our police officers do their job better and safer. So why wouldn't we get that money for them? I mean, I think that's so wrong. That'd be like me as a mother denying my child some way of getting help if it's going to actually help them. So as a city, we should have looked at, you know what, this is our police department. They're keeping our public safe. We should utilize every opportunity that we have legally to get them the funds that they need to do their jobs.
So, you know, that kind of brings me to an interesting point. It's a little off topic, but you said that, you know, it was like a mother have the availability of having multiple solutions for their kid, and why would you just take one? Why not give them every solution that's available? So let's talk a little bit about, and again, it's not something that you can necessarily do as mayor, but I think it's interesting, for gun control. I believe that you are a Second Amendment supporter. Is that correct?
That is true.
Yes. And am I correct that you have your concealed carry license?
I do.
Yes. So you also have a granddaughter.
I do.
Make those make sense for me.
Well, so as a grandmother, that I'm pro-life. I'm pro-Second Amendment. And, you know, I have met veterans that I have talked to about the Second Amendment. These are people that have gone to get our freedom, earn our freedom for us. And they have even spoken about that, you know what, yes, we need gun laws. We need sensible gun laws. But what is sensible? Rusty, you know, what's sensible to me might not be sensible to you, might not be sensible to the next person. So what do? We need to all come to the table like adults. We need to actually find something that actually, what does sensible mean? Without knocking people, without offending people. It's just actually adults sitting at the table and finding the solution. So as a grandmother, I would want to know that when I have my grandbabies, or even when I'm around my family, that I'm going to do whatever I have to keep them safe. You know, after we had the incident, and it's not even us, because the poor people of El Paso, the incident that they had with this gentleman that came in and took the lives, and he was looking for people like me. He was looking for brown-skinned people. And I feel very bad for these people. And so that incident, when it happened, we watch our granddaughters, usually on the weekends, our son-in-law and daughter work a little bit extra to make, you know, ends meet. They're doing well, but they work a little bit extra to be able to do more. And my daughter asked us, are you taking the girls out? Because we usually take them out to dinner. And I said, it's too soon. I did not feel comfortable as a person to take my grandchildren out, because knowing that we're going to have these copycat people that want to make a name for themselves, so they might go do something crazy. So, but definitely as a grandmother, I'm going to do whatever it takes to ensure that my grandchildren are safe. And I even had the conversation with my granddaughter when she said she's 6 years old. And she said, Nana, what are we doing? Why are we going to all these meetings? And I said, because I want to be the mayor of Las Cruces. She didn't know what that meant. So I took her to a city council meeting, and she sat there for 4 hours, and she behaved. She listened, and she asked, are all those people the mayor? And I said, no, just that one person is. And then she said, oh, and then so she kind of hung her head down after somebody asked her, your Nana is going to be the mayor. And she put her head down, and then I said, what was that about afterwards? And she says, I don't want you to be the mayor of Las Cruces. And I said, why not? And then she said, because then you won't play with me. We won't have we do crafts, we do little projects, we save the toilet paper rolls or whatever. We just create stuff, make her use her imagination. And then I thought about it, and I said, no. I said, just the way that your Nana loves you, and there's nothing your Nana wouldn't do for you, right? And then she said, yes. And I said, well, there's a lot of kids in Las Cruces that don't have a Nana, that don't have a mom like your mom has, that loves them and will do whatever it takes to help them have everything they possibly can. I said, I want to be the Nana for all those grandkids like you that don't have a Nana that does this for them or is not able to do this for them. Or like your mom, that I'm her mom. And that she has a mom that has always been there for her. I've been there for my kids. And I want to be that mom to these people that, you know what, they need help. We need to sometimes give them that handout. We need to give them that hand up You know, and as a woman and as a mother and as a grandmother, that's the mayor that I'm going to be. I'm going to be that same caring, loving person. So when I told her that I was going to do this for other grandchildren, I said, you'll always be my number one. You know, you're my special granddaughter. But you know what? Those kids need help too. The next minute we went out, we saw somebody and they said, your Nana's going to be the mayor. She said, no, she actually said, this is my Nana and she's going to be the mayor of Las Cruces. She was advocating and advertising out for me. So once she understood, so that's the mayor that I'm going to be. I'm going to be the mayor that, you know what, to me, everybody in this city is going to be my brother, my sister, my daughter, my granddaughter, whatever, my friend. You know, and that's the job of the mayor, is to look out for all the people of Las Cruces, not a certain group. Not because they have money, not because they don't have money. We all pay taxes. We're all entitled to be treated the same way. And I feel this is something that we have not seen from our city government.
So taking all options in the sense of gun control, that would be where, and again, not making the argument for smaller magazines, for limiting the size of magazines, for limiting, you know, all these different things, making them safer by putting fingerprint scanners on them. These are all the different options that we have. You're not limited to, you're not saying that you're limiting it to one, that you're willing to listen to everybody, have them all on the table and then have the debate.
Oh, definitely. From what people that I have met or know that actually, you know, believe in the Second Amendment, don't believe in the Second Amendment, it's because of all the miscommunication. We actually need to come together and find what is the solution. We can't be knocking the other side can't be knocking the other side. This is a very important topic that we need to sit together and find a happy middle. You know, because the people that do believe in caring or do believe in the Second Amendment, you know, they're in a panic because you have this other side saying, oh, you know, take their guns away, and that's not what they're saying. I know that the people that are saying that they're not pro-Second Amendment, it's that's not what they're saying. It's just there's that confusion. And like I've told you before in Spanish, there's a saying, hablando se entienden las cosas. When we talk, we understand. And I think we haven't had enough discussion on issues like this. We need to bring people to the table. Like I said, I've had veterans that say, we need sensible gun laws. Well, what's sensible? Well, let's bring that together and find out.
And as mayor, that's what Gina Montoya Ortega will do, is bring everybody to the table and listen to what everybody has to say, and then we'll make decisions as a group. Thank you for joining us with People Not Politics. Again, my name is Rusty Pierce, and we'll see you next time.
Gina Ortega, and I approve this message. Vivian Fritz, Treasurer.